Hello, Twin Flames, and welcome back to God Conscious Twin Flame 1111. My name is Pamela, and I want to thank you to all my loyal viewers for all your likes, shares, and subscribes. I want to thank those that felt moved to donate. That is so helpful in keeping this channel going. If you are called for a private reading, please feel free to click one of the links below. I do 30-minute readings, 60-minute readings, and I have been doing a lot of live video readings, and those are really cool. It's a great way to get to know each other. And the angels have pretty well been on target with the messages that they have for everybody. So thank you to the angels. As you can see, I laid out your spread. I meditated, prayed over, shuffled. I did an extra long meditation today over it, and they asked me to do a week reading because my daily readings have been a little harder to get out with my new schedule. So I will do them when called. So just if you hit the subscribe button, you will be notified when a new reading hits the channel. I can be reached by email, and that link is below if you want to keep your comments private. So this week's reading is beginning June 11th, which is tomorrow, going through the 17th, which will be next Sunday. And the overall energy, the divine masculine is on the left and the divine feminine is on the right. And this is a progression of what's been going on in our lives. And so we thank the angels, we thank God, we thank Jesus, we thank all the guides that are present when these cards are pulled. I think that overall, based on the comments and feedback, they have been pretty well on target for your journey. And I know that the overall energies at times can become intense, and we think we've gone through it, and here it shows again. And it can seem overwhelming at times, and the idea is to clear and to go with it, and so not to run, not to avoid it. And I do say that a lot because there are so many ways in which we avoid dealing with the emotions of situations that occur. I'm just going to go into the reading, because the reading I think that was given for today is extremely powerful and on par with this spread, as well as the Bible verses that were given. What we're trying to do here on this journey, I've said before that there are many paths to get to God or to get to enlightenment, and that requires shedding old behavior patterns and belief systems and attitudes and thoughts, and really examining what these feelings mean. And we are so multidimensional as human beings that this is a lifelong journey. And those of us that are blessed with the twin flame journey are encouraged daily by the angels to remember that the destination is unconditional love. Whether you reach union or not is not the purpose. It is unconditional love for yourself and for others. And we get sometimes sidetracked by union. or by the Divine Masculine and his journey. So we want to remember to get refocused into the present moment and where our guides are taking us through the emotional processes and the spiritual processes to get to the unconditional love. So today I am listening to Kundalini Rising. It's a 432 hertz music to balance male, female energy, and it's a healing, because we have both the masculine and feminine energies within us, and sometimes we identify more with the feminine, and sometimes we identify more with the masculine. And when I talk about this multidimensional, some of us women have been raised to be extremely independent of everybody, and therefore we have to kind of undo some of that independence and learn about interdependence. We have also been trained as in the female race to be codependent, and we have to shed that layer and learn about interdependence. We in relationships with our male counterparts, whether it's a divine partner or a soulmate or a karmic, if you want to call it that, somebody who is introducing lessons to you, we tend to err to the side of codependence based on conditioning. And so when I say that we're multidimensional, we don't realize that we have picked up and adopted all of these ideas and concepts and belief systems from the world around us. So maybe from our families, from our parents, from society, from television shows. If you're watching television shows where there are couples, or movies where there are couples in the way it's quote unquote supposed to be. And this journey is to get you to a place of balance and center, to shed some of those false belief systems that cause us to want to look for something that may be unrealistic or really not for our greater good. We think that the end is to get into this relationship, but that's really just a beginning. So we do, in the tarot deck, it has the major arcana, and the major arcana signifies a journey, the fool's journey, from inexperience and impatience to wisdom and enlightenment. And so that this journey goes on in many dimensions of our existence. We become a new person again when we enter into a new phase, when we overcome something that has kept us down. Let's use addiction as an example, and we get our first 30 days, and that's awesome, and you recover the first 30 days, and then you get a 30-day coin or chip or whatever happens in different programs. Excuse me. And then you move on to the next thing, and then with that is what's called the 12 steps. And within the confines of the 12 steps is a process of ultimately getting to God, ultimately surrendering your life and your will to the care of God. As you understand Him, and that has to go through a maturity. We can't just go from being babies drinking milk to college. It just doesn't work that way. And the same thing goes with our inner evolution. So all the training that we went through, for many of us, myself included, and especially, I had to begin again and begin anew. I just recently, as many of you know, began again here in Florida. And there were new opportunities and new passions for me to pursue. And this channel came alive because of this fool's journey. If you know, I am in evolution as well, and many of you who have been watching since the beginning got to watch this development of this channel and of the things coming. And yes, it has been stagnated, and I'm going through the process of praying over releasing the stagnation. And I'm not getting frustrated behind it. I am just going with the flow of how they want to guide. And you get to watch this, and you get to be a part of it with me. And I'm so grateful to all of you guys for all the love and support of this channel. So I'm going to go into the reading, which is really amazing. Out of Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. If you don't have a daily devotional, I encourage you to get one. Whatever resonates with you. This one was my daughter's, and she had left it behind, so I use it, and it just reminds me of her and her desire to get closer to get a better, closer relationship with God. And that's really what this journey helps us get to, is a closer relationship with God, which is really God resides within us, which is oneness with self, which is being able to be peaceful under all circumstances that may occur, and then what it takes to get there. So trust me and don't be afraid, for I am your strength and song. Do not let fear dissipate your energy. Instead, invest your energy in trusting me and singing my song. The battle for control of your mind is fierce, and years of worry have made you vulnerable to the enemy. Therefore, you need to be vigilant in guarding your thoughts. Do not despise this weakness in yourself, since I am using it to draw you closer to me. Your constant need for me creates an intimacy that is well worth all the effort. You are not alone in this struggle for your mind. My spirit living within you is ever ready to help in this striving. Ask him to control your mind. He will bless you with life and peace. So let God and the Spirit that's already in you be in control of your mind. And some of the tricks that I use is, Lord, help me with this thought. Help me overcome this. Lord, keep me from thinking thoughts that are not of you. Help me to stay focused on what you would have me be thinking about. Replace this thought with what you think is important for me to develop today. Otherwise, my thoughts can go into monkey mind and, creating stories and or bringing the past in. So with that, I was brought to Romans 8:6 and 8:9. So it says, for to be carnally minded is death, and to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So, I began this video by sharing that it really takes a lot. So carnally minded, if we take a look at the 7 deadly sins and how they invade every aspect of our life, and how some of that has to be undone, and we don't have to do it on our own, that God and the angels will give you the lessons at the time. In our journey, they gave us a divine partner and the desire to want to break free from those things that don't serve us. For people in the 12 steps, God gave them the cross of addiction or alcoholism to bear, to be able to get their minds back to a peaceful state, more spiritually minded, away from the carnal sins. The carnal sins are the desires of the flesh. And when I went and I looked it up, the music's going to go away. But when I looked it up, carnal minded, it's often associated with sexuality, but it's sensual, fleshly, animal, refer to bodily rather than rational or spiritual aspects of humans. carnal, although it may refer to the body as opposed to the spirit, often refers to sexual needs or urges, carnal cravings, attractions, satisfactions. But to be spiritually minded, having the mindset on spiritual things, filled with holy desires and purposes, that those two are at constant conflict. I want to do what feels good, like thinking that once I get into this relationship with my twin, everything is going to be good. But if you haven't cleared the carnal mindedness, which is really dealing with your body and belief systems, those triggers will rear their ugly heads again. So that was Romans 8:6, and then this is Romans 8:9. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of God dwells in you. Now, if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, he is not his. And if Christ is in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. That's 10. But if the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit who dwells in you. So it is repeated over and over that God is within us, God is within us, God is within us. The spiritual self got buried by the ways of the world, by the desires of the flesh, by wanting more, by a good paying job and striving up the corporate ladder, and possibly now getting the new car and the big house and the relationship. And so these things can become addictions if they're not held in the high regard of letting God place those things on your path. They can cause more pain when they're not viewed as spiritual gifts. So I'm sorry I'm preaching a little bit on this matter, but it is what has shown up in the reading as well, and we're going to get into that now. This is God Conscious Twin Flames, so for those of you that watch, I hope you can appreciate that the path to get to God has been given to us as a divine gift, as a intimate gift from God, to get our attention, to get us to be spiritually minded, to get us to be the empty vessels of love that we can pour out on the people that are in our path. We have been able to pour out to our divine partner, and we really want to look at life in all people, not just the divine partner, but all people, with that same loving kindness, being at one with nature, being one with self, God, nature, and God is self. So I just want to say that again. Being one with the trees, being one with the animals and the birds and the bees, and being one with, and really one of the ways that helps, or that I realize that, is the dragonflies that always appear on my path, which means the angels are with me. So when I did the research, it also means that, being able to make quick transitions. So I've been trained to be able to go with the flow and go where the food is, so to speak, and to get away from danger, because the wings on the dragonfly can move at phenomenal speeds, and they can avert danger very quickly. And so the grooming process, when I look at how I have been groomed, the dragonfly is very representative of my journey. So they show up every day, everywhere, and multiple times a day, which reminds me to go back to God and the angels during my day. And sometimes it's what I'm thinking about, and they show up, and it just puts a smile on my face. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be thinking about that, or maybe I should be doing show me what I should be thinking about. I said today, just kind of distract me from what I. So yeah, so I'm going to get into our reading. The masculine is where we're going to start today, and he has the Page of Swords energy for the week, as it seems. He's had these pages quite a bit in his energy. your energies have been more mature, divine feminines. And this could be for divine masculines whose energies who's more in resonance with the female. So please remember that this is the energies that we carry and that we possessed. So the divine masculine is more, it's showing that his thought processes are not grounded, and that this is an inexperienced energy. And we saw this over the weekend, that he is still in the learning phases. He's just not fully developed in many areas within himself. He's developed in other areas, and just kind of gaining balance there. But the Page of Swords, he's in the infancy stage. So any expectation for some of you that he can give more than and this Page of Swords is in the communications, is what they just said. He's unable to communicate in a mature fashion. He's not able to operate yet in his beingness in a mature fashion. He's not been patient enough in his attempts to attain that knowledge either. So he gets a piece of information, then he runs off with it, which says that he's got to go through that to learn that patience is one of the virtues. He acts rather impulsively. And this could be you, divine feminine, with that male energy. You might be going through this evolution. So if you take a look at the male and say, okay, God is dealing with my inner masculine energies, and this is what needs to be in prayer and matured, that I should not be acting impulsively, and that I should really be still. I could be still rather than be impulsive, and that it might yield a better fruit. We see what kind of fruit it yields in the divine masculine. I'm going to get to some of these cards underneath as they guide, because they want us to look at those as well. And so with this being the overall energy, they are sharing with me that that the divine masculine is in great inner strength. This is a major arcana. He's still working to balance that, and that the strength that he has used to stay away from you or to create obstacles is the strength that has not matured to the levels in which it is a reserved inner strength. Not doing things in a loving way, maybe ignoring your text. It would be, that's the immature way of handling it. That maybe causing fights or strife of some sort, maybe causing an argument, or saying things that really came from pain, where he's feeling maybe insecure. Because this isn't about putting the masculine down in any way, shape, or form. It's about understanding where he is at energetically. And this isn't something that can be rushed. So balancing the strength and finding that balance of how to use the strength in a wise way. Some of us, and I can speak from experience for me, that, early on this journey, that my strength was used to cut people out. I'm staying away from you. I don't want to be around you, or calling you bad. My strength was in judgment. My strength is no longer as judgmental as it used to be, but it is certainly something that God worked with me on diligently and vigilantly for a long time, that my strength has to be in the spiritual realms rather than in my physical strength. Because in my physical strength, I cause damage. And so what this is saying is that right now the divine masculine, in his physical strength, meaning in his physical thought patterns and in his physical belief systems, where he is not focused on how the divine, meaning more intuitive guidance. More intuitive guidance is generally more gentle and kind and loving and balanced and fair and responsible. The strength that's showing up, being that we have the young energy, is really the strength of not being intuitive. So not being intuitive, and it's being kind of rash and maybe even harsh. And we have the Two of Cups. the strength is to stay away from the Two of Cups in this. He wants it and then he doesn't want it. He wants it and he doesn't want it. He wants it and he doesn't want it. Does that make sense to you? He wants it, he doesn't want it. Like, he can see it, but then he pulls away from it. And when he pulls away from it, he goes back into, I did it. See, it's not really true. I don't want it. And he gets this card a lot in the last week, maybe two. This little victory. In my strength, I can stay away from my divine feminine because that's not good for me. It's not good for him in his young energy because it causes him to be vulnerable. And so his strength is to stay away from vulnerability, is what they're saying. Being vulnerable is not a comfortable position for most men. And so he's being forced to get into the heart as it relates to the vulnerability, because this is the longest journey is from the head to the heart. And so Two of Cups represents love. It represents harmony. It represents, love and balance. It represents the things that he wants, but he can't seem to get them because he's too strong for his own good, and the strength is keeping this apart. This shows also equality, an equal relationship. He does not know how. He doesn't know how. That's a foreign concept based on where he comes from. But in the unexpected, he's going to be working towards it, whether he realizes it or not. The divine is making him work on this. The Three of Coins is see how hard he's working at, over the fire to get that circle, to get that gold, really, to be perfected. An apprenticeship on this. He's an apprentice, really. And he's an apprentice, and as you make a lot of mistakes, you make a lot of errors, you make a lot of poor judgments. And then the outcome card for the Divine Masculine is the Queen of Wands. Now, typically the Queen of Cups is the feeling queen, but this one is also in this deck, and hiding her feelings, hiding herself. She's wearing a mask, hiding her feelings, hiding his feelings, leaving something on the back burner. There's fires behind her, so he's trying to keep the fires burning, but leaving them on the back burner to deal with in the future, and not letting it die out, but not letting it really live. Just kind of letting it be over there. So don't take all that so personally if that's where your Divine Masculine is. He is masked right now. Just not, just in an apprenticeship mode. Doesn't want to be vulnerable is what they keep saying. Doesn't want to be vulnerable, isn't ready to be vulnerable, doesn't know how to be vulnerable, and when he gets vulnerable, when he shows up in your presence, it sends him back running because he cannot handle the love vibration that you carry. Now here's the other thing. Doesn't know if it can be sustained, doesn't know if it can be really whether or not he's worthy. So this has to really work itself through. The concepts of love are still very immature, like balance. What is that? Equality, what is that? So it seems as though they're going to be forced by the divine to go back into working on this thing because they just have no clue. And it's not in a negative way, and it's not a condescending way. It's really their level of maturity on this is really conditioned. Men should not feel, and they should not express their feelings, and all of these rules of how to be in a relationship, and it's still evolving into something that can get him into that strength energy of a king. it's going to take some time and some work. So the energy overall is that the strength is that he has is not working in the favor that the divine would like to have it. But it's something that's being dealt with by the Queen of Cups. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going to try and pull that in a little bit better. Yeah, that's not going to work. So be in your own energy on this, Divine Feminine. This is just a FYIs, really. Don't take it personally. Don't try to go in there. Don't try to do anything. I say that a lot. Well, I say it when it's necessary, and they're saying today is necessary. They just corrected me. I say it when it's necessary because we cannot, be the love for them. We can only be the love for ourselves, and then we bring that to the table. And then when he brings it to the table, it creates another entity in the middle. And that entity has to have its own life, because it's both your mature God selves, your mature selves coming to the table. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with somebody who's immature, energetically. It's very difficult for you to maintain your power when you're being dragged down energetically. And so looking at it from that perspective, your energy, you cannot now digress. I mean, you can, but you wouldn't want to. I wouldn't think, but we'll get to that, I think, when we get to your reading. You don't want your energy to be clouded. That would be a carnal way to go about this relationship, is what they just said. It would be a carnal means to that end in that relationship. To be blind to the fact that they're still in an immature energy would be a way to put it. So don't be blinded by your carnal desires as it relates to this. And if you are, which we're going to move over to you now, ladies, or gentlemen, divine feminine energies, you're moving away from stormy weather, stormy waters. You're moving towards another more safe place. Maybe you're actually taking a journey. Take that journey. Maybe you're taking the journey from the head to the heart. Take that journey. That's a journey that we take alone. See the little frog at the bottom? I don't know what the significance of a frog is, but maybe it's for somebody out there, since I spoke of dragonflies earlier. Being led by our intuition is what that, with the light of the moon and the cosmos behind it. Being led by your intuition, being led out of stormy waters. There was probably a heap of emotional upheaval over the last couple of weeks. This is part of the process and part of the journey. So you're moving away from that, and you're moving in a direction that is a little bit unsure based on this reading. You're beginning a new journey. So we're on, the Fool came up as your overall energy. You're beginning a new journey, and you're moving away from anything that which does not serve you in the emotional world, in the spiritual world, even in the physical world. This journey will be a very powerful journey for you, and it will yield opportunities in which you're going to have to make some decisions. And you don't want to allow yourself to stay in a period of indecision for too long, because a significant decision will have to be made. And you're going to have to choose between what's in these cups. And, it has the dove that represents peace to me, and the fire, which can represent creativity. Here's intuition. Here's, it looks like coins in this one. And this reminds me of the earth. So you have options available to you. This encouragement, based on this reading, is to question whether they are carnal or spiritual desires that you're leaning towards. I would encourage you to question whether or not God is in the middle of this, or whether it is. This keeps giving me a really cool reflection. Or whether it's your fleshly self or your spiritual self, because your role in this is you got to make a decision. Now, it could have been after he had this little victory that I'm sensing didn't sit well with you. I'm sensing that you both have a Wand's energy. Yours is at the beginning. His was an immature victory. These are both you and your roles. Him is the Six of Wands. I'm sorry, I think I said 4. 6 of Wands, and then you is the 2 of Wands. It can also represent partnerships, collaborations, negotiations, and maybe you are negotiating with your divine partner. The encouragement is to wait before making any major decisions until you've really checked that in prayer and meditation with God to make sure that that is where He is guiding you, and that you're not going into this in a foolhardy way or a blinded way, that you're going into this with your eyes open, with your heart open, with your mind open to the possibilities. And that might require you to write them out and write a game plan or a business plan. The unexpected is again the 8 of Swords, where there's 8 swords surrounding you and you have to make a decision, and you really are in an energy that's kind of heavy and feeling like you're lost, or that you're being controlled, but you're only being controlled by your thoughts. There is a way out. Those binds are loosely tied. The swords are not touching you. That's the unexpected. So this reading really, what they're saying is that the decision to move away from whatever that wasn't serving you, in the 8 of Swords, on the 6 of Swords, is a wise decision that you made. Whether you made it or the divine forced it upon you, and that you have these. If you don't think you have any choices in the 8 of Swords, then I want to encourage you to take a look at the 7 of Cups. You do have choices. There's a rainbow at the end of the tunnel on that one, and then there's the dove of peace, and then there's just the light trickling from the cosmos, universal knowledge. It reminds me of universal love. Maybe it's a more earthly rather than fleshly. Maybe you got to do some gardening, and maybe that'll help you on this journey. But it can help you pull you out of this. Be aware that this is going to crop up on you this week, if it hasn't already. You had a really positive reading over the weekend with multiple major arcana. Don't let this having to make a decision keep you stuck. It's the idea of the 2 of Wands is to stay focused on. Did I do that? I did not. I'll do that at the end for both of you. They just reminded me. Okay, so the 2 of Wands is to keep focused on your future plans. Just stay focused on the future plans. Don't, you're being, given a little heads up here. And I hate to say warned, and we may not have any control of how this is going to look, but you do have control over your thoughts. And it said that in our reading today. You do. You can ask God to show you what this all means. You want to weigh out the choices carefully. You might want to journal them and say, okay, but if I choose this, and then ask God to say, well, this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. But do this, together with God. Or maybe you have a trusted, wise friend or companion or family member. Go to them and say, I have all these choices and decisions to make, seemingly out of the blue. All these things showed up as pathways. I'm not sure which one to take. And they can help you brainstorm the pros and the cons of both decisions. But one of the things that, as the outcome card, is the Queen of Cups. And it encourages us to live by our hearts. And I'm not saying by our hearts, by our emotions, but by our intuition. And so instead of your head, and instead of over-emotionalism, be in your heart. So this reading is all about you divine feminines strengthening that intuition, that inner guidance, that inner knowing, so that God can really put you where you want to be moving forward on the path. And you might be looking at it and saying, well, I'm so many steps ahead of him and it'll never work out. Don't do that. The divine, all things are possible with God. We just have to remember that we put our trust in God, and then all these things are added on to us. We have to stretch ourselves. We have to, she's close. We have to stretch ourselves and go into the unknown. We do. I mean, that's what they're saying. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the deck. I'm going to go to the feminine first, and then I'm going to go into, so there's, underneath the Fool, you have an Ace of Wands. And it's a new creative energy, it is a very male energy. So I'm getting the sense that divine feminines want to really learn how to master the balance between independence, codependence, and interdependence. So independence is that masculine that got stuck on my tongue, sorry. Okay. Independence is the masculine energy. Codependence is, I'm going to quote unquote, a female energy, because it's not really supposed to be there, but it's many more feminines engaging in it. And interdependency is the middle, is the balance between those two. So I would encourage you guys to look that up. That's a creative. That's a creative tool that you can use to help you on this journey, to look up what is interdependence, and then how can I be more interdependent, and then God remove from me the things that cause me to be codependent or too independent, and they'll rush to your side to help you get through that. And then they have here the Wheel of Fortune. So it is destined. It is the time for this. It moves quickly because you're going to go through another lesson. So you're at the beginning of you're at the Fool's journey. You're at the beginning of this. Maybe you're at the beginning of learning how to do the the balance of independence to interdependence. You want to seek wise counsel on that. You might find a book, or I'll see what I can remember as books that I had read online. And books on tape. I do a lot of audiobooks on tape because they help me get clear. They help me from being in my own mind too much, and hopefully they'll help you. The Ace of Wands also can represent the desire to change. The desire to change something in our life or in our environment. So you have the desire to change. You might, being at the beginning of this energy, you might, on some of this you're a little further ahead than at the beginning, but you want the change. You have the strength, you have the power through the angels to move forward on one of these cups, to be able to not get restricted by your own thoughts, emotions. Maybe you're shedding that belief system. I don't know who I'm talking to right now. This is what they gave me, so somebody out there is dealing with this. So the Wheel of Fortune. It may appear to you that the Wheel of Fortune is upside down and that things are really not going well, but really we just want to run from the uncomfortable energies, but go through it. I mean, this is a great time to be creative on how you process it. Looking for YouTube videos on how can I be more interdependent. I don't know how to be in a relationship. Some of the trainings I was brought to were like T.D. Jakes' messages on biblical marriages and biblical relationships, because I wanted to be true to how God intended relationships to be, not what we see today, but how He intended them. And so that information helped me. T.D. Jakes had sermons on that, and then it led me to looking into the Bible of what was the man's role and what was the women's role, and how a lot of that got distorted over the course of time because the family structure broke down and we went through bad relationships. So we added onto ourselves some survival tools that have to get shed. So this is a really look forward to this, Divine Feminines. I'm encouraging you to look forward to it. It may feel a little uncomfortable, but just go through it. It's going to yield the peace that surpasses all understanding. You're going to look at it not just from the carnal way through your eyes, but the way spiritually, the way God wants to heal you. Okay, so now back to the Divine Masculine's energies and what's going on here. So the probably would have been better, but it completely slipped my mind. He went through a my tongue is tied a little bit. I'm very hungry. I haven't eaten yet today. I eat like a bird during the day, and then I eat a big dinner. So maybe that's what's going on here. So the Five of Swords was a humiliating defeat, and I'm guessing it was because of this little victory. So I think he's going to be licking some of his wounds. Could be because he's, he's in that sword's energy, which is that intellect and that, I think I know better and I can do this on my own strength, and he's got to go through that. And but there's swift moving energy coming through with the Eight of Wands. That's going to kind of be divine. See the doves around it? Swift moving. He's going to be swiftly moved to do the work, to heal this humiliating defeat. Now, it could mean that he defeated somebody, but that's not what I'm getting. Even if he did defeat somebody, it wasn't the right thing. It just wasn't the right thing. He might be in the midst of feeling humiliated by something that was of his own actions, is what I'm getting, because of the way he's holding the sword. So, very powerful. So I feel called to pull out the Kuan Yin today for the Divine Feminine, and if it's a Divine Masculine watching this, that's great too. Kuan Yin, oh, she gave it to us. Up, she brought us to the Tao. Okay, that's number 38, which 8 and 3 is an 11. So yeah, this will help us. Better find my little book that talks about the Tao and gives us a prayer ritual a little bit. We've had this, I think it was about a month or so ago. The Tao is always flowing, always nourishing life into creation, always presenting steps and solutions, and always reminding us that we are perfection in this moment. You are being guided to relax and allow life to flow. Beloved, you are being invited into a more advanced spiritual classroom of the soul. Oh, angels, thank you. I don't know if you get so excited and amazed. I got goosebumps when we got this, because they want us to be more advanced. They want our soul evolved. Sometimes we think that more advanced means more effort, and yet in spiritual matters, as we mature, we become more able to stop attempting to control and direct from our more limited perspective, and instead become open to receiving and being directed by higher forces, which include our own divine essence, at one with the source of all. This does not mean that we become a loose leaf paper blown about by the winds of fate. Look at how beautiful she is. It means rather that we become like bamboo, strong within ourselves and able to move in this direction or that without losing our power. In fact, our flexibility can become part of what makes us a powerful instrument of divine creativity and healing. The Tao, 38. There are times when the Tao, the mystery of the source, endlessly unfolding, calls us strongly to be flexible and to stop fighting against the flow, and instead let it move us. It is the difference between trying to flow and instead let it move us. It is the difference between trying to swim all the way to shore, not even knowing if we are heading in the right direction, but just thinking we could be. On the one hand, and allowing a cosmic wave to lift us up, carry us, and deposit us on the shoreline, and the right shoreline for us, quickly and with grace. But why should it be so easy, you might wonder? The challenge is not to try and force life to unfold according to our whims, but to grow in trust, wisdom, self-love, and self-worth, so that we become capable of surrender. So maybe this, see, I said this was positive. That's a surrender. Just surrender. I didn't think of that card as a surrender, but it just, my eye went right to it while I was reading. The way is effortless, yet the journey to being able to surrender into the way, not always so effortless. We can make our molehills into mountains unintentionally, and so you are being asked to let go now, to relax, and allow life to do what it does, which is flow. Life, the Tao, is more powerful than any apparent obstacle. The Tao flows through all situations and presents natural solutions. No matter how unsolvable those situations may appear to be, it just needs to be allowed to do so. So I'm going to read the healing with the Tao. Lie quietly on a slightly darkened room, or place a soft cloth over your closed eyes. Imagine that you are lying in a dark, endless space that is safe, expansive, and loving. Imagine it expanding in front of you, behind you, to the right and left, above and below, until it is just you in the center of endless space. Feel your edges blurring until it is hard to tell where you start and stop, and the space begins. Allow yourself to feel held and supported in this space, almost like you are resting on a deep ocean. Become aware of gentle pulses and waves, sometimes quite large, sometimes very small and delicate, that reveal this space has intelligence and aliveness. Imagine any outcome that you wish to create, starting off as a thought or vision in your mind and then dissolving into light, journeying down to your heart and beaming out into this vast void. The process of creation has been initiated the moment you let go of it. You don't even have to know how or what to do next. Being the Fool. And the journey with the Ace. Feel the joy of release and the wonder of how easy it is when we let go of fear and control. Feel the excitement of anticipation that the universe is playing with you now to create the best manifestation. Relax and then follow your breath, and perhaps finish your practice with this prayer. Guide me, restore me. I trust you completely. Your wisdom, love, and joy lights my path, and the way becomes easy for me. So, wow. So that's the difference between you Divine Feminines right now and Divine Masculines. And you can pray the Tao for your Divine Masculines who are still operating in their own strength and in their own wisdom. They have not learned yet how to let God guide them and restore them and trust. They haven't learned how to trust completely. That's why this came out, because now this was not just for you Divine Feminines, this was advice for the Divine Masculine as well. They have not allowed the divine wisdom and love to light their path. They're still in the egoic energies, which is going to be fading and passing. And you can pray for them in that regard, that the egoic energies get whooshed away, and that the divine is there assisting them, and that the divine puts on their path people that can help them. So I want to thank you. This was a little bit of a long reading. I apologize that it took a while for this one to come through. But this is what the angels had for you. I usually do shorter readings. This is what the angels have for you. I want to thank you so much for watching. These are the energies for the week. And I'll see you when the angels bring me back to you. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm looking forward to my sentence of this faux pas on the video will be up in August, and I am hoping today to get some of the other stuff up and running where I can do the live videos again, because they were a lot of fun collaborating with you guys and talking with you on there. Yeah, if you would like a personal reading to get more clear guidance on your particular situation, the link is below. Just feel free to click it. If this reading resonated with you and you feel called to make a donation, your donation is appreciated, and blessings to you for that. The universe honors the flow of giving and receiving. So I thank you. Until next time.